The stars shimmered like scattered diamonds across the obsidian canvas of space, but ahead of the Odyssey, the cosmos twisted unnaturally. The Virellan Expanse loomed like a wound in the galaxy, an unstable region where light bent, time stuttered, and ships vanished without a trace. Captain Elara Rivers stood at the forward viewport of the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. Her dark uniform was crisp, her posture rigid, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. She had seen many strange things in her 24 years of service, but nothing like this. "Status report," she said, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Engine steady," replied Jason Hampton from the helm. "But the gravitational flux is spiking. We're riding a wave, not flying through it." Elara turned slightly. "Can you keep us stable?" Jason smirked without looking up. "I can dance on a neutron star if you give me the right rhythm. Let's not test that today." Behind them, the bridge hummed with quiet activity. The crew moved with practiced precision, but tension hung in the air like static. The Odyssey was the first Celestial Accord vessel to enter the Expanse in over a decade. The last ship, the Resolute, had disappeared without a trace. "Captain," said Julie Hayes from the communications console, "I'm picking up a signal, faint but repeating. It's not on any known frequency." Elara turned fully now. "Can you isolate it?" Julie's fingers danced across her console. "It's not a distress call, more like a beacon. The language is unfamiliar, but there's structure, intent. Put it on speakers." A low, melodic pulse filled the bridge. It wasn't sound so much as sensation, like a whisper brushing against the edge of thought. Jason glanced over his shoulder. "That's not creepy at all." Julie frowned. "It's repeating a phrase. I think it says, 'We are the echo. We remember. We wait.'" Elara's brow furrowed. "Navigator, mark the source." Mark Hughes, quiet and precise, tapped a few keys. "It's coming from a fixed point approximately 0.7 light-years inside the Expanse. No known star systems. No charts. Plot a course," Elara said. "Slow approach. Let's not wake anything we don't understand." Jason raised an eyebrow. "You think it's sleeping?" "I think we're walking into a place where the rules don't apply." The Odyssey moved forward, its hull shimmering as it crossed the threshold of the Expanse. The stars outside twisted into spirals, and the ship's inertial dampeners groaned under the strain. "Gravitational shear increasing," Mark reported. "Adjusting trajectory." Jason's hands flew across the controls. "Feels like flying through molasses laced with lightning." "Captain," Karen Hudson said from the science station, "I'm detecting a massive structure ahead. Metallic composition, but it's old. Very old." Visuals on screen. The main display flickered, then resolved into an image that silenced the bridge. A massive station floated in the void, its surface scarred and pitted by time. It was shaped like a spiral shell, with glowing veins of energy pulsing faintly along its surface. It looked alien, but there were elements that felt disturbingly familiar. Karen leaned forward. "This architecture, it resembles early Earth orbital designs, but it predates them by millennia." Julie's voice was hushed. "The signal is coming from inside." Elara stared at the screen. "Prepare an away team. I want eyes on that station." In the shuttle bay, the away team assembled. Elara, Karen, Julie, Jason, and Dr. Jason Henderson. The latter checked his medkit with practiced efficiency, his calm demeanor a steadying presence. "You sure you want to come, Doc?" Jason Hampton asked as they boarded the shuttle. Henderson gave a small smile. "If there's something alive in there, I want to be the first to know. If there's something dead, I want to make sure it stays that way." The shuttle detached and glided toward the station. As they approached, the structure loomed larger, its surface etched with symbols that shimmered faintly in the shuttle's lights. "Docking port ahead," Karen said. "Still pressurized. That's unexpected." The shuttle latched onto the station with a soft thud. The airlock cycled, and the doors opened with a hiss. Inside, the station was dark and silent. The walls were smooth, metallic, and covered in glowing glyphs. The air was breathable, but heavy with age. Julie activated her scanner. The signal's stronger here. It's guiding us. They followed the signal through winding corridors until they reached a central chamber. A massive crystalline structure pulsed in the center, suspended in a field of light. Karen stepped forward, eyes wide. It's a memory core, a living archive. Elara approached slowly. Can you access it? Karen nodded. I think so, but it's not just data. It's consciousness, fragments of thought, echoes. Julie's scanner beeped. Captain, the signal just changed. It's no longer a beacon. It's a message. Play it. The chamber filled with a voice. Not spoken, but felt. It echoed in their minds. We are the Elara. We reached beyond the stars. We touched the void, and it touched us back. Beware the Nullwave. It devours memory. It unravels time. We remember. We wait. The lights in the chamber flared. The crystal pulsed faster. Karen's eyes widened. Captain, I think we just woke it up. The air inside the station was still, but not dead. It felt like walking through a dream, one preserved in metal and light. The walls pulsed faintly with energy, as if the structure itself were breathing. Captain Elara Rivers led the away team through the corridor, her hand resting near her sidearm. The station's architecture was unlike anything she'd seen, yet it stirred something familiar in her mind. The curvature of the walls, the symmetry of the glyphs, it echoed early Earth orbital design, but with a complexity that defied human engineering. Karen Hudson moved beside her, scanning the walls with a handheld device. The energy signatures are stable. This place is still alive in a way. Jason Hampton walked a few paces behind, eyes scanning the shadows. Alive and creepy. I don't like how quiet it is. Julie Hayes paused at a junction, her scanner blinking. The signal's guiding us. It's not random. It's leading us somewhere. Dr. Jason Henderson brought up the rear, his medkit slung over one shoulder. Let's hope it's not leading us into a trap. They reached a large chamber, circular and domed, with a crystalline structure suspended in the center. It pulsed with soft blue light, casting shifting patterns across the walls. The glyphs surrounding it glowed brighter as the team entered. Karen stepped forward, eyes wide. This is a memory core, a living archive. The Elara must have used it to store their history, their knowledge, maybe even their consciousness. Elara approached cautiously. Can you access it? Karen nodded, already interfacing her scanner with the core. It's not just data. It's layered like thought fragments, echoes of minds. Julie's scanner beeped. Captain, the signal just changed. It's no longer a beacon. It's a message. Play it. The chamber filled with a voice. Not spoken, but felt. It resonated in their minds, bypassing language and touching something deeper. We are the Elara. We reached beyond the stars. We touched the void, and it touched us back. Beware the Nullwave. It devours memory. It unravels time. We remember. We wait. Jason Hampton exhaled slowly. Okay, that's officially unsettling. Karen's eyes widened. Captain, I think we just woke it up. Back on the Odyssey, the bridge crew monitored the away team's vitals and telemetry. Mark Hughes sat at the navigation console, his fingers twitching slightly as he recalibrated the ship's position. The Expanse was shifting around them, space itself bending in unpredictable ways. Captain, he said over comms, the station's energy field is expanding. It's affecting local gravity. Elara's voice came through steady. Understood. Keep us stable. Mark nodded, but his hands trembled. He hated this kind of space, chaotic, illogical. It reminded him too much of the accident. The one that took his partner. The one he still saw in dreams. Inside the station, Karen continued her interface with the core. Glyphs lit up in sequence, forming patterns that danced across the walls. Julie watched, fascinated. It's a language, not just symbols, syntax, grammar, emotion. They encoded feeling into their writing. Karen nodded. They were more than scientists. They were artists of thought. Jason Hampton paced near the entrance. And what exactly is this Nullwave thing they're warning us about? Karen hesitated. It's entropy, but sentient. A force that consumes information, memory, even time itself. The Elara tried to harness it. They failed. Henderson frowned. And now it's here? Not yet, Karen said. But the station's activation may have stirred it. Suddenly, the core pulsed violently. The lights dimmed. A low hum filled the chamber. Julie's scanner flashed red. Captain, something's coming. A signal? No, a presence. Elara drew her weapon. Everyone back to the shuttle. Now. As the team retreated, the station's corridors began to shift. Walls reconfigured. Glyphs flickered. The structure was responding, reacting. Jason Hampton led the way, guiding them through the maze. This place is alive. It's trying to keep us here. Karen glanced back at the core. It's not malicious. It's afraid. Julie looked at her. Afraid of what? Karen didn't answer. They reached the shuttle and launched back toward the Odyssey. As they docked, the ship's systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Consoles rebooted. Mark Hughes looked up from his station. We've got a problem. Something came back with them. Elara stepped onto the bridge, her face grim. What kind of problem? Mark pointed to the main display. A fragment. Nullwave. It's inside our systems. The screen showed a swirling mass of dark energy, pulsing like a heartbeat. Karen stared. It's learning, Julie whispered. It remembers. The Nullwave fragment pulsed on the main display like a living shadow, its tendrils of dark energy flickering across the ship's systems. It didn't move in any physical sense, but its presence was felt. An intrusion into the Odyssey's neural core. Captain Elara Rivers stood at the center of the bridge, her jaw tight. Science status. Karen Hudson's voice was low, focused. It's not spreading yet, but it's interacting with our systems. Learning. Adapting. Julie Hayes leaned over her console, fingers flying. It's rewriting code. Not maliciously, more like curiously. Just trying to understand us. Jason Hampton turned from the helm. That's comforting. We've got a sentient virus playing with our ship like a toy. Mark Hughes didn't speak. He was staring at the navigation display, watching the stars outside twist and ripple. The Expanse was reacting to the Nullwave, or perhaps the other way around. Elara stepped closer to Karen. Can we isolate it? Karen hesitated. Maybe. But if we do, we risk provoking it. It's not hostile yet. Julie looked up. It's echoing our own data. I think it's trying to communicate. Elara nodded. Then let's talk. In the science lab, Karen and Julie worked side by side, interfacing with the Nullwave fragment through a secure simulation. The dark energy pulsed within a containment field, flickering like a heartbeat. Julie frowned. It's not using language. It's using memory. It's replaying fragments of our own logs, crew interactions, mission data, even personal files. Karen's eyes widened. It's mimicking consciousness. It's trying to become us. Jason Hampton entered, arms crossed. And what happens when it decides it doesn't like us? Karen turned to him. It's not malevolent. It's lonely. Jason scoffed. That's a dangerous assumption. Julie stepped between them. We need to understand it before we judge it. Jason's expression hardened. You sound like the Accord scientists who thought they could tame black holes. Karen's voice rose. This is different. This is life. We don't destroy what we don't understand. Jason stepped closer. And we don't risk the crew for curiosity. Elara's voice cut through the tension as she entered. Enough. We're not here to argue philosophy. We're here to survive. Meanwhile, Mark Hughes sat alone in the navigation chamber, recalibrating the ship's trajectory. The Expanse was shifting again. Space folding in on itself, creating corridors of unstable gravity. He stared at the data, but it blurred. His hands trembled. The Nullwave was affecting him more than the others. He could feel it. Inside his thoughts, stirring memories he'd buried long ago. A voice echoed in his mind. You remember. You wait. He closed his eyes and saw her, his partner, lost in the teleportation accident. Her face, Her voice, her final scream. Dr. Jason Henderson entered quietly. Mark. Mark didn't respond. Henderson approached slowly. You're not alone. Whatever it's showing you, it's not real. Mark looked up, eyes haunted. It's not showing me anything. It's pulling it out. Henderson sat beside him. Then let's pull it back. In the command center, Elara reviewed the data. The Nullwave was stabilizing, contained, but active. It wasn't attacking. It was watching. She turned to Julie. Can we send it a message? Julie nodded. Not in words. In memory. Karen stepped forward. We give it something to understand us. Something human. Jason Hampton entered, arms still crossed. And what if it decides we're not worth understanding? Elara looked at him. Then we show it who we are. They uploaded a curated memory sequence. Moments of compassion, sacrifice, discovery. The Nullwave pulsed, then paused. The flickering slowed. The containment field stabilized. Julie whispered, It's listening. Karen smiled faintly. It's learning. Jason Hampton watched silently, then turned and left. Later, in the mess hall, Karen found Jason alone, staring out at the stars. You were right to be cautious, she said. Jason didn't look at her. You were right to be curious. They sat in silence. Karen glanced at him. You ever wonder what's out there? Beyond the expanse. Jason nodded. Every day. Karen smiled. Then maybe we're not so different. Jason looked at her, and for the first time smiled back. The Odyssey drifted in silence, its system stable but subdued. The Nullwave fragment, though contained, had left a mark. It had touched the ship's neural core, and through it, the crew. Captain Elara Rivers stood in her quarters, staring at a blank screen. She had tried to record a log entry, but the words wouldn't come. The voice from the station echoed in her mind. We touched the void, and it touched us back. She closed her eyes and saw the faces of the shuttle crew she had lost years ago. The decision she had made, the sacrifice, still haunted her. She had never spoken of it to anyone on the Odyssey, not even Henderson. A chime interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she said. Julie Hayes stepped inside, holding a datapad. Captain, I think you should see this. Elara took the pad. It displayed a log, her own voice, recorded years ago. Private entry. One she had deleted. Julie hesitated. The Nullwave recovered it. This replaying memories. Not just ours. Everyone's. Elara's voice on the recording was raw, broken. I made the call. I watched them die. I told myself it was necessary. But I don't know if I believe that anymore. Elara looked up. How many others? Julie's voice was quiet. Everyone. It's showing us what we've buried. In the medbay, Dr. Jason Henderson moved between patients. Crew members reported vivid dreams, hallucinations, emotional instability. The Nullwave wasn't attacking, it was reflecting. He found Mark Hughes sitting on a diagnostic bed, pale and silent. Mark, Henderson said gently. Talk to me. Mark didn't respond. Henderson sat beside him. You're seeing her again, aren't you? Mark nodded slowly. She's not speaking, just looking, like she's waiting. Henderson placed a hand on his shoulder. It's not her. It's your memory. The Nullwave is echoing it. Mark looked at him. But what if it's more than that? What if it's trying to become her? Henderson didn't answer. He didn't know. Elsewhere, Jason Hampton sat alone in the flight deck, staring at the stars. He saw the crash again, his co-pilot, his best friend, screaming as the shuttle spun out of control. He had survived. She hadn't. Karen Hudson entered quietly. You okay? Jason didn't look at her. No. Karen sat beside him. It's showing me things too. Planet I refused to sterilize. A species I saved. I was nearly court-martialed. Jason glanced at her. Would you do it again? Karen nodded. Every time. Jason smiled faintly. Then maybe you're braver than me. Karen looked at him. Or maybe we're both just stubborn. They sat in silence, the stars swirling outside. On the bridge, Julie worked with the ship's AI to isolate the Nullwave's influence. It wasn't spreading anymore, but it was still watching. She turned to Elara. "Captain, I think it's waiting for something." Elara frowned. "What?" Julie hesitated. "Forgiveness." Elara stared at her. "You think it's sentient enough to understand guilt?" Julie nodded. "I think it's made of it." Later, Elara gathered the senior crew in the observation lounge. The room was quiet, the atmosphere heavy. "We've all seen things," she said. "Things we've buried. The Nullwave didn't create them. It revealed them." Jason Hampton leaned forward. "So what do we do? Pretend it didn't happen?" Karen shook her head. "We learn from it." Mark spoke softly. "We remember." Julie looked around. "And we wait." Elara nodded. "Then let's wait together." The Odyssey floated in orbit around the Elara station, its hull bathed in the soft glow of the expanse. Inside, the crew moved with quiet urgency. The Nullwave fragment had stabilized, but now it was growing. Karen Hudson stood in the science lab, staring at the containment field. The dark energy within pulsed slowly, rhythmically. It was no longer mimicking, it was creating. Patterns, shapes, even rudimentary symbols. "It's evolving," she said aloud. Julie Hayes leaned over the console. "It's trying to communicate, not just echoing us anymore. It's forming its own language." Karen nodded. "It's becoming something new." Jason Hampton entered, arms crossed. "And what happens when it decides it doesn't need us anymore?" Karen turned to him. "It's not hostile." Jason's voice was low. "Not yet." On the bridge, Captain Elara Rivers reviewed the latest data. The Nullwave's energy signature was expanding, and the station systems were reactivating in response. The Elara core was pulsing faster, brighter. Mark Hughes spoke quietly. "The station's gravitational field is destabilizing. If it collapses, it could tear a hole in the expanse." Elara nodded. "Options." Karen's voice came through the comm. "We can trigger a containment pulse. It would collapse the station's core and seal the Nullwave fragment. But we'd lose everything. The archives, the knowledge, the Elara legacy." Julie stepped onto the bridge. "There's another option. We preserve the data, encode it into the Odyssey systems. But it's risky. The Nullwave could follow." Jason Hampton joined them. "Or we destroy the station and make sure it never spreads." Elara looked at each of them. "We're not just explorers anymore. We're guardians. What we choose now will echo across the stars." In the medbay, Dr. Jason Henderson prepared emergency protocols. He knew what was coming, either a controlled collapse or a catastrophic failure. He checked his supplies, calibrated the stasis pods, and waited. Karen entered quietly. "I need your help," she said. Henderson looked up. "With what?" Karen hesitated. "I want to preserve a sample, a fragment of the Nullwave, in stasis." Henderson frowned. "You want to keep it?" Karen nodded. "To study it, to understand it." Henderson sighed. "You're asking me to help you preserve something that nearly destroyed us." Karen looked at him. "I'm asking you to trust me." After a long pause, Henderson nodded. "One sample, sealed, monitored, and if it shows signs of growth, we destroy it." Karen smiled. "Deal." In the command center, Elara made her decision. "Julie, begin encoding the Elara archives into the ship's databanks. Karen, prepare the containment pulse. Jason, plot an escape trajectory." Jason raised an eyebrow. "You're doing both?" Elara nodded. "We preserve what we can, and we seal what we must." Mark Hughes looked up. "Trajectory locked. But we'll need to fly through the collapsing field." Jason grinned. "Sounds like a challenge." Elara turned to the crew. "This is what we came for. Not just to explore, but to protect. Let's finish what the Elara started." The containment pulse activated. The station began to collapse, its core folding inward. The Nullwave fragment pulsed violently, then shrank, drawn into the imploding structure. The Odyssey launched into the heart of the gravitational storm, its hull groaning under the strain. Hampton flew with precision, weaving through collapsing corridors of space. Mark Hughes recalibrated the navigation systems in real time, sweat beading on his brow. Julie monitored the data stream. Archives are stable. Transfer complete. Karen watched the containment field. Nullwave fragments sealed. Henderson checked the stasis pod. Sample secure. Elara stood at the center of the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Engage warp, she said. The Odyssey surged forward, leaving the collapsing station behind. The Odyssey emerged from the collapsing gravitational field, its hull scorched but intact. The stars of the Virellan Expanse shimmered around them, quiet once more. The Elara station was gone, imploded into a singularity, sealed by the containment pulse. Captain Elara Rivers stood on the bridge, watching the final telemetry fade from the display. The Nullwave fragment had been sealed. The Elara archives were safe, and the crew had changed. Status? She asked. Mark Hughes responded, his voice steadier than it had been in days. Trajectory stable. Systems nominal. We're clear. Hampton leaned back in his chair. That was one hell of a ride. Julie Hayes smiled faintly. We preserved the data. The Elara legacy lives on. Karen Hudson nodded. And the Nullwave is contained. For now. Dr. Jason Henderson entered from the medbay. Crew's recovering. No lasting effects. But we'll need time to process what we've seen. Elara turned to face them. We've touched something ancient. Something dangerous. But also something beautiful. This is why we explore. Later, in the observation lounge, the senior crew gathered informally. The stars outside were calm, distant. The expanse no longer felt hostile, just mysterious. Julie sat beside Elara, sipping tea. You made the right call. Elara nodded. I hope so. Julie looked at her. You defied the accord. Preserved knowledge instead of destroying it. That's leadership. Elara smiled. It's also insubordination. Hampton chuckled from across the room. If they court-martial you, I'll fly us out of the system myself. Karen leaned against the railing. We learned something today, not just about the Elara, about ourselves. Henderson nodded. The Nullwave didn't attack us. It showed us who we are. Mark spoke quietly. And who we could become. In the science lab, Karen checked the stasis pod. The Nullwave sample pulsed faintly, contained and dormant. She placed a hand on the glass. We'll understand you, she whispered. One day. Henderson entered, watching her. Still think it's lonely? Karen nodded. I think it remembers. And I think it's waiting. In the flight deck, Hampton ran diagnostics on the shuttle systems. Karen entered, arms folded. You flew well, she said. Jason grinned. I always do. Karen smiled. You trusted Elara. That's new. Jason shrugged. She earned it. They stood in silence for a moment. Karen looked at him. You ever think about what's next? Jason glanced at the stars. Always. Karen stepped closer. Then maybe we should find out together. Jason looked at her, and for once, didn't deflect with humor. I'd like that. On the bridge, Elara stood alone, watching the stars. The expanse stretched ahead, uncharted, unknowable. She tapped the console. Computer, begin log entry. Captain's log, stardate 7421.6. The Elara station is gone, but its legacy remains. We've preserved knowledge that predates our civilization. We've encountered a force that defies understanding. And we've faced our own ghosts. The crew is stronger. The mission continues. We set course deeper into the expanse. We remember. We wait. She paused, then added. And we hope.